Cool. Yeah, so on that note, when you moved each time, please don't tell me that you had to move all of your gear like 6 times in a year or whatever. Is that how it went down? Oh
Yeah,
my word, dude.
yeah.
Oh, that is such pain.
It's it's not good. Yeah, having
It's
to move all of that so many times was not my favorite way to spend my time, and I'm gonna have
uh,
to do it again in a few months. But I'm hoping the next place that I get into, I can be there for another year or two at least.
is a year like a liberal outlook for you? Because even that, like moving at my age, I'm like almost 40 now. Moving every year would just be a pain in the ass. Is that like a long period for you these days?
The 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 only reason that I put that kind of qualifier on it is that I'm maybe considering making a move to like a Los Angeles or something like that, because I'm in upstate New York, so I'm like even 4 hours away from New York City. Um, and so like I used to live there. I have some connections, but with what I'm trying to do, it might make more sense to be sort of on the West Coast.
Sure,
Uh,
yeah.
but we will see if that pans out. It's kind of like
Uh,
that's why the like year or two, like I'm gonna be 35 this year. I do not
uh,
look forward to the possibility of moving again.
yeah, yeah,
It's
again and
just
again, yeah, yeah. No,
yeah,
I
but
can't imagine, dude. I mean, even just moving a regular house is like a big deal, but with all that gear, I mean, it's not stuff you can just throw in a box, you gotta like properly wrap it
yeah.
and yeah, so
Oh,
wow,
I
okay.
have this all like configured, but I did put all of my like my interface, and like I have a bunch of different stuff. I have like a MIDI interface and all this stuff that's now rack mounted in a road
Uh
case.
uh
That stuff has been living in there. So and now I started using. I installed a patch bay.
oh
Um,
wow.
so now I can just
Yeah.
like most of my ins and outs will be like stay the same. I'll
Uh
just have to like rewire like some of the synths and whatnot
uh,
like
uh
into this. Um, I'm hoping that will maybe make things slightly easier.
the way things are going now, you might as well just rent a house just for your synths and just hook it all up with Dante and like remote desk, like just play your synths from
Yeah,
anywhere in the world.
I that would be a dream. That would be a dream.
Yeah, yeah, not having to move everything. Well, happy landings wherever you find yourself next, friend. Well, whose house are you staying with now? Who are you staying with now?
I'm at so like my parents offered this house. I was going to move into a new place, like sort of
Uh,
I was going to rush into a new place at the end of last year, but then my parents were like they like escaped the winter by renting a house for 3 months in
uh,
Florida
okay.
to because they're at that age where they're like we just want to be warm.
Lifestyle,
um
yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
And so I'm basically renting this house while they're down there renting that
Nice.
house. So yeah.
Well, you've got the badge of honor for an independent producer, which is the diagonal ceiling. I've also got one. I've got diagonal ceilings. You can see it over there. It's like
Yes.
very
Yes.
much like the hustler, but you're making things happen. You got the diagonal ceiling, like someone's
Yep.
loft or someone's attic or something.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do you
cool.
watch any like what's his name, Andrew Masters or Colt Caparoon like on
No,
YouTube? They're
no,
both like
no.
they're audio engineers, and they both have places where they rent out. I mean, they're like very legit setups now,
Uh,
but they
uh,
have the tinted ceilings.
right on, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of bullshit out there, like the glamour shots of like the wall of modular synths and stuff. Like some of that
Yeah.
stuff is legit, but I mean a lot of it is just flexing.
Yep.
Oh. All right,
Yep.
sweet. Well, this is good,
Okay.
man. Let's have a little chat. Let's do a little bit of the script, and then I'd like to find out
Yeah.
what else you're up to while we're after we've done this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is going to be very basic. Basically, we just get we just do one pass of the whole script, and
Great.
afterwards we can go back and like elaborate, revisit, go off topic, whatever. Let's just get the nuts and bolts down. So yeah, just rip
Great.
open the script, and yeah, over to you, man. I think you know the drill.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Cool.
I'm great.
I'm having a beer. It's 7 p.m. here. Any disclaimer for anyone else watching? And there's no alcohol in this beer anyway. I stopped drinking a while ago, so booze free beer. There we go. Cool. All
Uh,
yours.
yeah, it would a hair too early for me to join you on that, but over here. But anyway, here we go. The piece of music you're listening to is called the Forgive Me main theme. It acts as the music that concludes each episode of the dramatic comedy podcast, Forgive Me. You're listening to How I Make Music, where audio drama composers tell their own stories. In this show, we break apart the music of a fictional podcast and take a trip into how it was made. My name is Adam Raymonda. I'm a composer and sound designer from upstate New York, and this is How I Make Music.
Cool, cool. Could I just get you to do the first line again? The piece of music. I think there might be chair squeak. Just that first paragraph. Yeah.
The piece of music you're listening to is called Forgive Me main theme. It acts as the music that concludes each episode of the dramatic comedy podcast, Forgive Me.
Cool, that's great. Before we go on, I've just thought maybe we should just have you do one line after this next line. So after the promo line, I'm writing just something like, I've been on the show before, catch episode 78, 79. Let me just double check. Give me a sec.
Yeah, that sounds about right, but...
oh, wait, no, it's not. It's 90. 89 and 90. So just something like this is actually my second time on the show.
Underestimating how many episodes you've done at this point.
Yeah. It's my second time on the show. You can check out the episodes 89 and 90 if you want to hear the first or something like that. Just ad lib it.
Yeah.
Ad lib that kind of Cool. All yours.
Great. Welcome. Oh, I have welcome to welcome back. That's not gonna help. Okay, great. Welcome back to How I Make Music, the Forgive Me main theme by Adam Raymonda. Thanks for listening in. This is actually my second time on the show. You can check out episodes 89 and 90 if you want to hear me explain the Windfall main theme, the dystopian. Sorry, let me take that one more time.
Cool.
This is actually my second time on the show. You can check out episodes 89 and 90 if you want to hear me break apart the main theme to Windfall, a dystopian science fiction podcast.
Cool. Also, just redo the first line because you said this is the Forgive Me main theme by Adam Raymonda. But what you should say is
by me.
Adam
Raymonda.
Me. Cool.
Very cool. Great. Welcome back to How I Make Music, the Forgive Me main theme by me, Adam Raymonda. Thanks for listening in.
Perfect. And then we play the clip from the comedy, from the audio drama. Go for it.
Great.
Forgive Me is a delightful comedy, that kind of thing.
Great. Forgive Me is a delightful comedy about the sometimes funny, sometimes awkward, and often confusing adventures of Father Ben and his rather unusual congregation. It's made by my production company, Rogue Dialogue, and written and directed by Jack Marone and my brother, Bob Raymonda.
Cool. I'm just going to make a note here before we carry on. Just like possible talking points. I don't know if we did this last time, but working with family. Cool.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that. Great. This is good. Nice. Moving swiftly along. Keep on going. Ideation.
Cool. So because the show takes place in a Catholic church, I tried to find hymns that centered around the idea of forgiveness as a theme and adapt one of them with some modern instruments for the first attempt at a main theme. But I didn't really feel great about this theme. I sent it along to the team anyway, though, so Jack immediately gave some feedback that the music was leaning too directly into the churchy part of the show, and it felt a bit insincere, or it felt a bit too sincere. We discussed how the show at its core isn't really about Catholicism, but it's about people confronting and trying to come to terms with their own mistakes and imperfections, as well as the Catholic churches. The show has a ton of zany characters and can be fun and outrageous, but also can be wholesome and filled with heart. I'm going to do that one more time. The show has a lot of zany characters, the show has a lot of zany characters and can be fun and outrageous, but also wholesome and filled with a lot of heart.
Cool. Let me just make a note there. I think it was episode 2 with Tom or Tim, whatever the guy's wife is a pig.
With the pig. Yes, yeah. Tom with the pig.
I think there was like there's an outrageous moment there. So I'm going to put that. Tom getting angry at pig.
Right.
Cool. I'm going to just do that in line. Cool. We'll do AD clip. Cool. That's great.
Amazing.
Cool. I listened to this John Breon track. It's pretty nice. It's like the beautiful sort of heartfelt acoustic sort of thing. I dig this kind of thing. Wholesome.
I mean,
wholesome is the right word, definitely.
Yeah. His music is great. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind or
totally. Yeah, I love that.
Or Lady Bird, or some of the other scores that he's done. I think he was also I think he was also I may be misremembering this, but I think he was part of the band Jellyfish as well, which was like a big like 90s, almost like Beatles-esque approach, but with 90s production.
If the Beatles were in the 90s.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Beatles, Beach Boys, but with 90s production.
The 90s is so in, man. More on that later. Cool.
Yeah,
sweet. That's good. And I Heart Huckabees was also great, man. When I saw that there, I was like, oh shit, I remember that. That was like an existential detective vibe. It was great.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. So after that first attempt, when Jack said this, I'm just trying to think of how I connect these. Actually,
yeah,
I'm gonna read it as is, but then maybe we'll try something else. At that point, I presented using John Bryan's music as an influence, and Jack immediately said that it was exactly what the show needed.
I think maybe I get what we're trying to do here, the smooth narrative, but just actually I'm going to start a whole new section. There's going to be like the pig sounds and stuff, and then I'm going to fade it out. So maybe just start again with like one of the influences for this track, or John Bryan as an influence of mine. Forget about the whole Jack said thing.
Yeah. One of the main influences that I came upon was John Bryan's music, specifically channeling the score for I Heart Huckabees, an existential comedy from the mid-2000s and one of my favorite movies. It has a sense of bittersweet positivity to it.
Nice. Perhaps just describe the track that you sent through. So like very guitar heavy, very sweet, just like for someone who is listening to it, draw their attention to what they're hearing.
Yeah. The track, I'm just gonna like quickly play for myself so I can. Yeah, I'm just gonna give it a quick listen here.
Just download the instructions for how to fly a helicopter, you know.
Yeah. Knock yourself out. Okay. Yeah, so the track really uses a lot of acoustic instruments and harmonica and sort of walking bass lines, which really I found kind of propel you through this. Here, I'm going to take this one more time.
He really does sound like John Lennon, eh?
Yeah, right? So this music really has like a sort of mid 2000s version of the Beatles, if that's possible, right? A lot of acoustic guitars and sweet melodies layered with mellotron and harmonica and percussion or tuned percussion elements like glockenspiel. And so there was a lot to sort of draw out from that working with this genre.
That's great. That's perfect. Good enough.
Cool.
And it's also nice how you mentioned those instruments that you're using, like mellotron. You use it in the Forgive Me theme. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I like that dude's vibe. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, next section we got this thing called a stinger, which I know what it is, you know what it is, but maybe we'll have to explain what a stinger is to people. So perhaps just something like, take a listen to this, and then pause, and then that's called a stinger.
Yeah.
It's a short version of the track, and da-da-da-da-da, and then you can go into the script.
Yeah. Yeah. Take a listen to this. That is the main stinger, or little abbreviation of the theme that we use to start each episode of Forgive Me. Once I sort of figured out I was going to use this John Bryan influence, I sat down at the keyboard and kind of plunked around with an organ sound and a mellotron sound. And I was playing around with a bunch of different stuff and kind of found myself singing this little melody to myself. Oh, won't you forgive me? And once I figured that out, I kind of like was able to translate that into, this organ and mellotron to give us this little stinger.
Yeah, great. That's fine. And then do you want to do a little bit of theory here? G major.
Great.
Yeah. Cool.
The melody starts on the first chord in a maybe the harmony starts on the first chord of a G major. Sorry. The harmony starts on the first chord of a G major scale, then moves up to the fourth chord in that major scale, which is normally a C major, but then we flip it down to a minor version, which going between those two chords really gives that sense of bittersweet. And you might recognize that from a lot of other popular songs. One I can think of off the top of my head is Creep by Radiohead.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's cool. That's great. I'm tending not to.
Maybe I'll do. I could stick right to the script if you want to.
No. The opposite, actually. You just plonk it all in the recording, and then I just cut out the stuff. That's the best. So that's fine. Yeah, I mean, when I started this is like 2 years ago, I started talking to the composers like you guys. And I was like, it's all about the theory. And now I'm like, I've gone so far from them. Like, the listenership doesn't know what a G major 7 is. I know what it is. It gets me excited, but the show's not for me. So if there's anything we can do to sort of soften this a bit, maybe like, okay, listen up. You might remember this from, band camp or jazz school, but we're going to do a little bit of theory now. Just sort of prep them, 1 or 2 lines, just prepping them for that.
Yeah. There's a little bit of theory that kind of goes into making this sound bittersweet. We get this kind of G major feeling, which is normally a like happy sort of feeling. And then I play the fourth chord in that scale, which is normally a C major or a happy sort of chord. When we flip it to a minor, a sort of sad type of tone, alternating between those two really gives you this sort of sense of either bittersweetness or nostalgia or longing. And you can hear this used in a lot of different popular songs, including something like Radiohead by Creep. I mean, Creep by Radiohead.
Damn it.
Creep
I should have laughed. That was good. I should have laughed it.
Yeah.
That's definitely going in the blooper reel.
Yeah, that's damn. All right, yeah. I said it right the first time. No.
That's the best stuff. Cool. Try again.
Yeah.
You can just take it from you've heard this in pop songs. Yeah, you don't have to do the whole thing.
Yeah. You've heard this in pop songs before. You've definitely heard this in pop songs before. A big one, for instance, is Creep by Radiohead.
Nice. I'll put a little snippet of that song in there. It's a good song. Cool, cool. Let's plow onwards. Okay, so this section here, because we're not going to dwell too long on each individual stem,
Yeah.
set it up like we're going to do just like a rapid fire of all the different parts in the track. So I'll just briefly say something about each instrument, just basically tell people what you're hearing now is the guitar, and this is something about it. And the next one,
Mhm,
what we're hearing is drums, just one at a time.
mhm.
This whole thing can be done in like 30, 40 seconds. Doesn't have to be
Yeah,
long.
that's kind of yeah. That's okay. Uh, I'm just gonna start at this thing and then I'll just like plow through here. Um, with all this in mind, I was able to move into coming up with a longer version of this theme that could be used as our credits music or as a framework, as a recurring motif in the rest of the show. So I started with some acoustic guitars, strumming away pretty fast. Uh, Once I had that chord progression figured out, I programmed some drums because that's really what's going to let me kind of define bass and all these other things that are going to come after. One thing I can't play the actual drums myself, so I programmed them, plunking in notes into my computer. But I have some additional percussion like tambourines and shakers to kind of bring some kind of organic element to that percussion to give it some life. Uh, let's see. Once I had those pieces, I needed some kind of once I had those pieces going, I needed to bring in the melody. So I pulled out my mandolin, which is kind of a cheap one, and it sounds a little out of tune, but kind of gets the point across here. Has a little bit of a chorusing effect on it because it's so out of tune. Then it came down to that bass line, which really walks around some of the chords and hits some parts of the melody, which is really something that someone like John Bryan would use. Someone like John Bryan or Paul McCartney, or how it would be used in the Beach Boys, any of that type of stuff. And okay, it was time to fill some things out with keyboard. We've got a lot of the piano just mimicking the main, or sorry, here. It was time to fill things out with keyboards. The piano plays some of the single notes of the melody, and then the organ kind of doubles up all of the chords and a little bit of the melody. I was just about there with this whole setup, but then I went back and started listening to John Bryan's music again. I noticed that he fills up a lot of the kind of space in his compositions between his melodies by creating counter melodies that bridge those gaps. So I took the same approach here with some woodwinds and mellotron samples.
Ooh, what's a mellotron?
A mellotron is a keyboard. A mellotron was this instrument that took pieces of tape that had woodwinds or flutes or whatever sort of recorded already, and you could play them back. And it gets this sort of warbly character to it. It has a little bit of like an orchestral feeling, but it doesn't quite sound right, but it has a ton of character.
Someone else described a mellotron as an early sampler. I think it was Dave Devereaux. I'm like, that's brilliant. And it is exactly what it was. It
Yeah.
was just a sampler, but not digital and stored on tape instead.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Yeah. It's funny that I'm using samples of the first sample instrument.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's very meta. It's very much suited
Yeah.
to the world we live in.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. And I was almost there at that point, but I just needed to glue the whole section together with some electric guitars. I embraced what the acoustic guitar was doing, but peppered in a few of those single note counter melodies to kind of glue everything together.
Nice.
And then, oh yeah, that's for like the intro. I know this is kind of like a lot here, but I guess the B section is like shorter.
Yeah, go for it. It's not, doesn't all have to be used. That's the point. It's like just get it all down.
Yeah, great. So because I was going with sort of a song format here, I wanted to change things up and not stay within that one chord progression the whole time. So I found a departure from that main melody and kind of the timbre that I've been using so far, and moved into a section that kind of alternates between an A minor and a D major. I filled this out with some lush sounding delayed guitars to give it sort of a contemplative feeling.
Okay, hang on a sec. Let's just backpedal one line.
Yeah.
The key stems part, I see what you're saying. I think maybe just simplify it a bit. So there's two parts to the song, the A section and the B section. And for the B section, I kind of changed the chords around. And just
that's right.
That's
yep. Yeah. So I went with a bit of a song format for this. So there's an A section, and then we are getting to the B section where I just changed up the chord progression a little bit.
And then I guess just keep going, redo the guitars, and then keep going from there.
Yeah. I filled this out with some lush sounding delayed guitars to give it a contemplative feeling. Shakers and tambourines are replaced by some snaps and sort of at-home percussion sounds from this VST thing. I'm gonna take that part out. I'm just gonna say that the shakers and tambourines are replaced by some snaps and at-home percussion sounds. As I mentioned earlier, another thing that you'll hear a lot in John Bryan's music is bells and other tuned percussion. So I layered in some glockenspiel that creates a melody for this section.
Glockenspiel.
Glockenspiel. The Glock. The old Glock.
It's a great word to say, just Glockenspiel.
Glockenspiel. And then let's see. And because we were kind of repeating stuff for a while, we just introduced those woodwinds again to give us another counter melody for this second section. Great, and then got here.
Just change the order.
Yep.
So just add winds and mellow stems, and then I'll explain what's next.
Yep. After 8 bars, the woodwinds come back to give us After 8 bars, the woodwinds come back in to give us a staccato counter melody. Everything comes to a long ring out on a D major chord, and then we're right back into the chorus to bring us home.
Nice. Cool, that's all great, dude. Fantastic. So the reason I switched these around is because I thought the mention of bells. I've got episode 4 where Clara is going on and on about her journey with bells, and I thought that would be a good segue. So I've actually just made a note here. Could you just basically try and make a segue saying like, what you've just said here is John Bryan's music uses bells. Maybe redo this section that I've indented and try and make it sound like one thing. Like you'll notice I use bells in the story. It's actually one of the plot points in episode 4, and then going to tell the story of Clara and her adamant journey with the bells.
Yeah, Clara is perhaps one of my favorite characters.
Because this is a good point to insert another AD clip, an audio drama clip. So basically, I'm using this as a kind of segue to the next breaker.
Perfect.
Cool.
Okay. Another thing you'll hear a lot in John Bryan's music are bells and other tuned percussion. So I layered in some glockenspiel that creates a melody for this section. And I really wanted to bring those bells in because you hear them at a church, right? And also, one of our plot points is a pretty upset bell ringer who has been slighted on her Christmas performance.
All right, cool. So that's good.
Let me maybe do that. I'm going to do that one more time just to maybe see if I can give you something better.
Yeah, just keep it
Um,
simple. Like, so
yeah,
bells in episode 4, there's this character called Clara who's obsessed with bells.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Another thing you'll hear in John Bryan's music are bells and other tuned percussion. We've also got a lot of bells in the church. In our 4th episode, we really have one character, Clara, who is St. Patrick's bell ringer, and she's quite the character.
And what makes her quite the character? It's like she
Yeah,
refuses to give up as a bell
yeah,
player, even when she's playing in funk and rock bands or whatever. She wants
right,
to play the bell.
right. St. Patrick's has decided to sort of flesh out their musical ensemble, and she is not pleased because this place has only had the bells, and she would like to keep it that way.
Cool. That's fine. Then we can play that. Play a clip. Maybe just prime that with like, yeah. Take a listen to Clara talking to what's his name, Father.
Father Ben, yeah.
Father Ben, yeah. Take a listen to Clara offloading her troubles onto Father Ben or something like that.
Here, take a listen to Clara offloading her troubles onto Father Ben. Yeah. Here, take a listen to Clara airing her grievances with Father Ben.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Awesome. That's great. That works well. Good stuff. And yeah, might as well do outro chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah, just give that a quick read through.
The outro chorus is pretty much the same as its first run around, except we add in some auxiliary percussion and tuned percussion to sort of lift up the ending. Everything felt just about done, but then everything felt just about done, but I really had that vocal melody in my head in this whole process that I was talking about earlier. Oh, won't you forgive me? So I just layered in a bunch of me singing that to add as like a last little piece to exit the theme. And when I listen back to it now, it really does sound like my early 2000s influences of Blink 182.
Totally. Great, man. That's awesome. All right, fantastic. Yeah, I think I'll definitely throw that outro chorus section in somewhere. That's fine. Yeah, so let's keep on moving forward. Final thoughts.
Great. Honestly, when I first wrote all of this, it came out pretty quickly, so I was rushing through tracking everything just to get the idea down. And in a lot of these tracks, there are a bunch of mistakes and timing inconsistencies. And I thought about going back to fix them before we put the show out to kind of like tighten everything up and make sure things were in tune. But I realized that by keeping the messy stuff in, I was embracing the heart of the show. Life can be a little bit messy and filled with mistakes, and sometimes it's better to embrace them and just keep pressing forward.
That's cool. That's a nice little like tying a bow on it, like in fact what you're saying there sounds like the end of a sitcom, like just keep on trying, just do your best. Okay, that's cool.
I was trying to think about some of my favorite Song Explorer endings. Like this is the thing that Rishikesh has been adding in,
yeah, that's where this all started, man. I fell in love with Song Exploder from the Silent Host format. He didn't just make a show, he made a format, and that's what this is all about, like taking yourself out and Yeah, cool.
You
That's
ever
great.
listen to Love and Radio? Just like separate thought for you.
Totally, yeah. Another early influence. Love and I was like, but they're turning this person's voice into a musical loop, like a rhythmic pattern. Like
Uh,
you can't do that. You can't do that on the radio. Like this is like 20 years,
yeah.
15 years ago. Like, oh,
So
yeah,
like such a
yeah,
big influence of mine too. So yeah,
yeah.
just always nice to meet somebody else who like knows that show because it's so specific.
Uh,
But like, but removing a narrator is like it's quite a hard task. So yeah, I just appreciate the work that you put in to make that happen. Yeah.
cool, man. Yeah, it's certainly easier to just hit record and then publish it without even listening to it. That's what most podcasts are. They're like glorified phone calls between nobodies. So yeah,
Yep.
the more editing, in my opinion, to an extent, the more editing and the more attention to detail, the better the show.
Totally.
Have you heard of a show called Have You Heard George's Podcast?
Have you heard George's podcast? I feel
That's the
like
title of
someone
the
else
show.
was mentioning this to me.
To
Have
me,
you
dude, that
heard?
is like the high watermark of like audio fiction, even though it's kind of not really fiction. It's spoken word poetry by a Ugandan British
Hmm.
poet with incredible composition by a British guy called Ben Brick. And I've watched all the tutorials that they've done and stuff, and it's just, and the show, the whole season is just basically this guy's like from the streets, went to Cambridge, he's trying to change the world by getting into politics, and this is his show, and he's like super popular, and it's brilliant. It's just brilliant.
Oh,
It's hard not to recommend. So that to me is like the number one. That's the kind of North Star for me with like in terms of audio production and like immersive audio. You know, I'll send
oh,
you that link.
I am so excited to go listen. I just
Dude.
subscribed. I just
Yeah,
like
you got
followed it,
it.
so I'm
Cool. Yeah.
pumped.
Yeah, give that a listen. That's it'll get you hooked. Cool. That's dope, dude. We've got pretty much everything we need. Let's just do a quick pass of the outro. Let me just double check the wording before we do that.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to music. Uh, Forgive. You've been listening to the audio drama called "Forgive Me" by Rogue Dialogue. This I changed this a bit to include it's just slightly different to the previous script. So
Totally
um,
fine. Yep.
it's fine. And my name's Adam Raymonda. Okay, cool. So that's the kind of standard script. Let's do that. And then if there's anything else you want to add in, you can do it after.
Great.
Cool.
Here we go. That's about it for this episode. We'll listen to the full piece in just a moment, but before we do that, thank you for listening to How I Make Music. Catch new episodes on howimakemusic.com or wherever else. Or I was like, I'm conditioned to say the whole rest of the thing. So let me fix that. Okay. That's about it for this episode. We'll listen to the full piece in just a moment, but before we do that, thank you for listening to How I Make Music. Catch new episodes on howimakemusic.com or wherever else. We've been listening to the music featured in the audio drama called Forgive Me by Rogue Dialogue. To hear the full story or to check out my other work, follow the links in the show notes. We video recorded this episode. Check it out and support the musicians of audio drama by becoming a patron at patreon.com/howimakemusic. Top tier patrons get a mention right here in the credits of every episode. How I Make Music is created by John Bartman. And now, here's the Forgive Me title theme. In its entirety. My name is Adam Raymonda. Thanks for listening to How I Make Music. Catch you next time.
You sound a little bit drunk at the end there.
I know.
Because
Yeah.
okay, that's
my editing sessions are crazy because
Right.
I'm a mealy-mouthed person.
No, you did. That was great. That's all perfect. I thought it's probably worth just ad-libbing one paragraph about like I was on the show before, and actually you might be interested to know this, but you're the first repeat guest. So not only did you get
great.
a
Wow.
double episode back then, but you're the first person. So you could say something
damn.
like, "How I Make Music is this cool show. This is the second time I'm on, and it's good to be back." Or just something like just to keep it sounding fresh. I'd like people to know that you're a repeat offender.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah,
and yeah, just ad lib something like I was on the show a while back talking about Windfall, like we did earlier, but just a bit more natural, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is my second time on the show. Wait, did you want me to start out with like a thank you or anything like that, or just like kind of ad lib just that section?
Yeah, just talk about your experience as the second
Right.
second
Yeah.
time on the show, whatever. Yeah.
Great. I'm getting Slack messages, so let me put do not disturb on. Sorry that I didn't do that before. Okay. This is my second time on How I Make Music, and John always makes it such a fun time. I was on 2 episodes previously talking about my show Windfall, and I'm excited to be kind of one of the first returning guests to get to talk about a very different type of show. And it's just so much fun making me. It's so much fun making music, and I hope you enjoy listening to the show. You should absolutely check out a whole bunch of other episodes because there's just a wealth of great stories and information on how to get inspired to make more stuff.
Cool. That's great. That's cool. That kind of turned into a promo for me for the show. So I wasn't fishing
Yeah,
for that. That just kind of happened.
no, I genuinely like that. Like
Sweet.
that's what I like about listening to your episodes is like it's a great way to get inspired to hear somebody else think about the way they approach something, even if it isn't necessarily like directly music or sound design related. It just gives you new ways to approach something that maybe you wouldn't have before.
Right. Yeah. Cool. So it's like mind expanding stuff. Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, cool. Let's do just pickups. Could you do these two pickups? Take a listen, and I wanted to add, do them like
Yeah.
normally, and then do them like really low too. So like I wanted
Yeah.
to add really like calmly one or two
Yeah.
takes of each.
Yep. Take a listen. Take a listen. Here, take a listen. I wanted to add. I wanted to add. I wanted to add.
Cool. That's great. That's
Great.
fine. Yeah. Just I have a feeling that I'll need that. Like I wanted to add cut guitars, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool. That's great. So one of the new things I'm doing, and it's probably the last thing, we'll just turn this into sort of freeform chat. But one of the new
Great.
things I'm doing is bonus content. So I'm doing like 2-minute episodes, which are
Oh,
usually outtakes, bloopers, interesting stuff. I try to score some of it myself if I can. I thought
amazing.
these would be good topics. Basically, what it's like working with family. I mean, you can comment on that. So yeah, tell us about working with your brother. You've been working with him for like years and years. Who does what? What are the roles? What's the dirt? What's the like all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. My brother and I have been making stuff together since we were playing with Legos as kids, or making up stories as we were mashing action figures together as if they were fighting. So we've been making stories together for an extremely long time. We were in bands together. Uh, like, I mean, it's been a long time now that I'm thinking about it. It was like 13 years ago that we were in a band together for several years. And so we've just kind of always been making stuff. But when we started making Windfall and a podcast before that, Breadcrumbs, we've really kind of started taking the making stuff consistently together seriously. Bob has always been a writer, and I've always been obsessed with sound. And so when we found fiction podcasting or making audio drama, it was like the perfect blend of our two skill sets. And uh, it's I'm lucky because my brother's like my best friend. And so there's like a lot of uh, pluses to that. We can work really well together. We also know exactly how to get under each other's skin. So it has its pros and it has its cons.
Will your brother hold it against you if you tell me right now how he gets under your skin, or vice versa, how you get under his skin?
Oh, I mean, I think it's like the same thing for for both of us. Yeah. sometimes I mean, one thing, like, we're both workaholics, and so we have a hard time kind of separating talking about fun things and work, because some we are making the like fun thing into work, and so sometimes like we may not have a read on like when somebody's too burnt out or to like keep talking about work, or it has just like I've had a shit day and now I've got to think about this too. um but I think there's like little things that like Bob used to as a kid, like find little things that he would say and just like repeat them over and over, uh and to just like annoy me, or to, I don't know what his satisfaction out of it was. I don't know if it was I truly don't know if the motivations were annoyance or just pure satisfaction, because uh to steal a thing from Adam Neely, repetition legitimizes, I don't know, but like there's ways where we could just repeat the same thing and then it'll get under either of us.
That's great, man. Um, we should. I mean, that's great. That's perfect. And I know what it's like. I haven't worked with my brother, but I know family can piss you off.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
that's cool. So yeah, I'll probably use some of that, and yeah, just
great.
yeah. The intention is obviously not to, start a war or anything.
No,
Just
no,
something
like
light and funny,
we
and
come by that honestly. Like the lucky part is that like it's we're good most every other time, right? It's like we work really well together and things are really great, but we also do know how to get under each other's skin, but it's, it all works out in the end.
good, good, good ending.
Yeah.
But I love him. It's like a best man speech. You just like take the guy to pieces
Right.
for 40 minutes and then just, but he's a good guy. The end.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great. So that we almost done, dude. So I think it's ballsy. I'll be honest. I think it's ballsy making a show set in church, because you're gonna
Yeah.
just divide half. The people who are sensitive to all that stuff is they're just gonna not be interested. So I'm just curious as to like what the motivations were there. Do you guys have a Catholic background? Is this your catharsis, or is it just literally you thought it'd be a good setting for a sitcom? I'm enjoying the show personally, so it's not
That's great.
me, but where'd that all come from?
Yeah, I will say that like for me, I am a lapsed Catholic, and so is Bob, and so is Jack. But Jack presented this idea to Bob, I think, in like 2015. So it's been like cooking around in all of our minds for a really long time. And one of the things that Jack had specifically in mind was to like make something that like his mom and his family, who are still
Uh,
Catholic, could still enjoy, while
mm,
also bringing attention to valid criticisms
mm,
of
mm, mm,
the organization, that is the Catholic Church at large, right?
mm, mm, mm,
um, but to kind of separate the people who are trying to live an authentic experience as a Catholic and use that as like a guiding light for the way they express love and family and have their morality, um, was like an important part to like keep in there. So the show tends to border between those two lines. We tend to have some like really comedic bits that are just
mm.
like kind of about a person, and they're like gripes within a small town, that are just using a priest as like a venue to get to get out their frustrations. But then sometimes we have like more dramatic things where someone's like going through uh either trouble in just their personal life, or it could be like their own struggles with like how they view the church, and like how they want to like fit in and
Mm.
like into this community and like find a lot of value in that, but are struggling with like a concept that like keeps them at bay with really fully committing themselves to the church. um
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I that's all up to the writing, right? Like Jack is like an incredible like sort of guiding force in making sure that the show kind of keeps that at its core.
Mm.
um and like I think Casey Callahan, who plays Father Ben, just does like such a lovely job, sort of as our guy who's kind of struggling
Mm.
with that himself in some ways.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's kind of wrapped up in the device is like comedy, but I mean, it's actually just so well written, and the fact that okay, so like in episode 2, the gay girl who kind of she comes out and then she leaves the church and that.
Yeah,
I
Shannon.
just thought this is like really it's really good writing that you can pull it off and express those points of view that a lot of people, especially people who listen to audio drama, are feeling, and I think that probably it's to yeah to like bring out the sort of drama element of it when you're telling people about it is maybe not such a bad idea to show them like this isn't just a bunch of guys trying to be funny. It's actually got a lot of value as social criticism and all that. And I'm just, I mean, you guys have obviously been writing forever because it's really well done. And then of course you counterbalance that in the next episode with like the funny stuff, and then it kind of goes back and forth. So I was just really impressed. Basically, I was really impressed at the depth of it all. So yeah, well done. Nice,
Thank you.
cool. And then the last one is basically what you just answered now. This whole thing of like the comedy versus the drama. So that's good. So yeah, I think we're good, man. Just give me a sec to reorder this. I want to
Yeah.
change the discussion of church. I actually want to include some of what you said to the earlier section of the script when you're talking
Okay.
about the clip, because I think it breaks up the static sounding script read. It brings it
Yeah.
into a sort of more of a natural vibe. So I'll put that there, which is good. And then I'll use I'll use the chat with your brother as a bonus episode. So yeah, sorted.
Fantastic.
Anything else you want to add? Anything you want to do? What are you busy working on this week?
I was up super late last night. We right after this meeting, we actually have like a pitch with some writers who might have a budget to try to produce a show with Rogue Dialogue.
Cool.
So
Nice. Well done.
we've done a couple of things with like clients, but this is feeling like a promising one. So we'll
Nice.
see.
Yeah. Yeah. Good one. Hey, dude. I mean, you guys are putting out such good stuff. It's just a matter of time before someone notices. I mean, Windfall was amazing. I still think of Windfall every time I sit out on the balcony and have lunch because it was like the 2 weeks of my life where it was like I do my exercise and then I go and sit on the balcony and listen to the story, and I just kept coming back to it. It was so great. Um,
Thanks, man. It's feels good. Like
yeah.
that means a lot, especially coming from someone like yourself who has experienced a lot of audio drama.
Right, yeah, I know the good stuff pretty much, and I think Windfall is definitely up there. So yeah, definitely worthy of a double bill, a double header. Sweet
Thank
man,
you.
cool. I'm gonna get back to my alcohol-free beer and
Yes, enjoy that. Yes,
funk
I
music.
I've been delving into the world of synths a little bit here. I
Nice,
picked up a Volca drum, which is just a nice little jam thing. It's like a ton of fun. I
cool, cool,
don't really want to go fully modular because it's like just an expensive, terrible
dude.
rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm happy to have just a couple of cents to monkey around with.
The local scene here is coming out of hibernation. Everyone's been like COVID-phobic for 2 years, but now on Tuesday, for the first time, all of the local electronic guys are getting together for an Ableton Link Jam, which we haven't done in so
Oh,
long.
hell yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to take
Uh,
this little synth and yeah, just go and have a bunch of fun with those dudes again. So cool.
Amazing. Have
Yeah,
such a good time.
community, IRL, you know, everyone in the room having a laugh, making music. It's just like bliss,
What a
man.
dream, right?
Yeah, what a dream. Worth working for. Kif, man. Cool. That is super rad. Is there anything before we hang up or whatever? Is there anything else you want to add or say or ask or whatever?
No, I think I'm good. I'm gonna label this file for you.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And then I could just send you a Dropbox link, or if you have a specific Google Drive that you want me to upload it to or whatever.
Yes, I'll send you the link to the drive now. I've done that. Cool. Give me 2 minutes and I'll send that to you.
Amazing. All right.
Good
Well,
times,
enjoy your
Adam.
evening. Enjoy your
Yeah.
non-alcoholic beer, and have a great night. And enjoy
You
that
too.
jam, man. Like I'm excited for you. That's going to be a ton
Yeah,
of fun.
yeah.
You deserve it, and everybody does at this point. So,
Totally,
uh,
man. I'm
all
glad you
right,
reached out, dude. I mean, it's awesome that you reached out and made this happen. And yeah, stay in touch, bro. It's good to chat with you. You know, it's good to hang and stuff. Appreciate it.
totally. All right,
All right, Adam. Take
all
care of
right.
yourself, man. Bye.
Bye bye.